The UDU, Upland Development United, installed their neighborhood nodes throughout the entirety of Upland. Their reach was unmatched.
Hello and welcome to UDU and UDUA team meeting number 20, the big 2-0. My name is Ben68. I'm the founder of UDU, and today we're joined with lots of our regulars, including Miss Morecheese, who is my right-hand girl, or more specifically, I'm kind of becoming her left-hand guy. We've got Mr. Bock, who is also one of the 5 big pillars, along with Finsky, of the team. If you're not aware of that, that's myself, Morecheese, Finsky, Nubex, and who am I missing? Bocchio, sorry. So that's the 5 core members that are holding this ship all together. And yeah, we've got lots of new people on board today, which is good. If you're not already aware, there was an interesting thing happened last night in the Upland general chat, where somebody asked, because I mentioned something about the UDU, and somebody replied, the UDU, what's that, some kind of group? So it's nice that we've dropped off the radar a bit. Maybe we've dropped off a bit too far. So we'll see how we go. Yeah, and we're a large coordinated group of players interested in coordinated property development and supporting of new members who are onboarding and that sort of stuff. So that's who we are. Basically, speaking to what we're all about, we're going to get straight into a bit of a chat and a heads up about how our various Spark trains are going. Morecheese, did you want to speak to the wrap up of round 2 and how we went with the NFTs and that sort of thing?
Sure. So I got all the NFTs out for round 2. I was really happy about the NFT I made. Seems like round 3 is picking up some speed thanks to Uplando. Thank you again. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start planning a round 3 NFT to give out. And I still have some round 1 NFTs to give out. Just answer your DMs. And we have about 5 more buildings left to fill up for round 2. And then we get on to, for round 3, and then we get on to round 4, which will be my favorite round because I get to participate again. Yay. So yeah, that's gonna be the apartment building / 2 townhouses for round 1. If you have 3 Spark and over, I did some tallying. I gotta kind of like just have people look at it again. I mean, it doesn't look so bad. And Bacchio will be doing the tier 2 for round 4 for townhouses and down. He gave a really in-depth explanation of it, which was awesome. And yeah, I'm excited. Like, this train that we're on right now, round 3, could be finished by the beginning of next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend. And yeah, I'm excited to start it out.
Yeah, it's gone fast. You know, we're almost 8 properties finished, 6 are already fully staked, and yeah, there'll only be a few more to go. So that's awesome. Bock, I'll bring up your PDF if you wanted to speak to that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Right, there we go.
Yeah, I don't want to make it too detailed because the previous meeting we already talked about it. Yeah, this is a second Spark train, and yeah, the principles are clear. They are in the presentation. The you scratch our back, we scratch yours. Of course, you can be a lone wolf player, but the nice thing about this Spark train is that we help each other. You stake your Spark into others' buildings, and they will also stake their Spark into yours. So No need to, go on the market, rent Spark. We just help each other out. There are some rules that I want to do. I want 10 participants max. The reason for that is because I want the Spark train, also the second Spark train, to go fast. I don't want to see a big difference between the first train and the second train in terms of speed. Entry is a first come, first serve base. And another aspect of this train is to make each Spark contribution count. So what I think is important to prevent is that people just meet the minimum requirement, the absolute minimum, and then they will try to let others build their building. That's unfair. So I wanted to create a mechanism that gives people an incentive to stake more Spark into this train. So when you contribute 0.5 till 1.5 Spark, you can build a property that is worth till a max of 1,100 Spark hours. So that will be a ranch or a small townhouse. But when you stake more, and when you stake between 1.5 and 3 Spark, you can nominate a building that is equal to a max of 3,000 Spark hours. So that could be a townhouse, but it could also be 2 small townhouses if your land plot is too small. And to make sure that people actually stick to the UDU plan, we require you to stake 75% of your total Spark in this second train. And this is the more detailed info. I don't think it's worth to read. I think it will be posted in the chat so you can all read it. But basically the main idea behind the Spark train is to give people an incentive to stake their Spark and not just meet the minimal requirement. That's why we have a relative threshold and an absolute threshold.
Yeah,
and
I think
that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in there because this here, where you have outlined the detailed information, we did talk about that when you first put this up, that originally maybe it was a bit too detailed, but it's really good that you put this together as a kind of reference tool. Something I did want to speak to, which kind of this segues into, is we did have this week we had a kind of an issue where a splinter group had formed in relation to the minting of some ultra rare properties. There was a kind of mini group that formed to kind of coordinate with each other to not step on each other's toes when they were going to that, the reverse auction. There was a few problems that came out of that kind of created a bit of drama, and basically I got dragged into it to help sort it out. And the crux of the issue seemed to be that something like this that you've done here with all these details was not prepared in advance. So there were situations where players weren't exactly sure of, what the guidelines were and that sort of thing. So I think, especially when we're talking about other people's money, basically, at the end of the day, that's what we're playing with. We're all playing with each other's investments and supporting them, or in some cases, hampering them. So yeah, I think these kind of very clear details are really, really important. It just helps avoid a lot of dramas later on. Morchis, did you want to speak to your first NFT drop? I'll bring that up while I'm here. That was a very big success by all accounts.
Yeah, I was surprised I had as much support as I did. I kind of sneak peeked inside to see everyone who supported me, and I thank everybody. It was amazing. I know, big shout out to Bojax. I know he bought 10. Mars bought 10. Thank you. I think someplace called Red Planet bought a lot. And thank you to everybody who got one. Like, it was my first drop. I did one drop before with the sunflowers and the bees with farm tales. That was a collaborative one, but this was my first one. And I don't know. I guess I'm not really good at self-promotion. So when I put it out there and people kind of responded, it really brought up my confidence. And thank you to Mars for kind of like pushing me to put it out. He saw it, the photo on. I'm like, you really like it? All right, cool. So I figured, yeah. So thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to pull that up and my janky internet was just cutting you in and out. So yeah, I like this. It's kind of, if you pay attention, you get a little wink. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's all pixel art. And what I did was I actually created the skull and the Mona Lisa separate, like pixelized. So I have a full actual skull. And what I did is I put 2 layers on GIMP, and I kind of erased the face off of the Mona Lisa one that I created to reveal the skull underneath, to kind of make it a perfect symmetry. And then I added a few more layers to do the blink in. I'm really happy about it.
Very cool. So maybe there's a business opportunity there for you. More cheeses, GIMP tutorials.
I don't know. I'd rather just sell NFTs.
Yeah. Alrighty, thank you for that. I'll get rid of this because it's driving my shitty internet crazy. So yeah, and another thing I want to say was to welcome to the new members. We did have some more players move up to UDU, and we had a bunch of new players come in as UDUA members. It looks like I had looked through the member list last night. It looks like we have 59 UDUA members and 70 UDU members. However, that's not really the reality of this situation, and assuming nothing comes up today, I am planning on going ahead and manually going through the member list, and we're going to probably see some of our first visitors to More Cheese's dungeon. We talked about that before. If you're in the server and you've been inactive for a period of time, you're just going to have your role dropped off, and you'll be put into the dungeon. So if you happen to come back on, there'll be steps so you can get re-involved. We don't have our friend Nubex on today. I was going to get him to talk about the ultra rare fiasco that kicked off with the, what was it, the 4th Street or 4th Avenue collections. Does anyone have a rundown of what that was all about? I only loosely caught it. Maybe Upland, there was a mod. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, that, from how I understand it and how I read it, there was a 4th Street collection. It was revealed in error, I guess, is what they had decided and what had come out of it. So some of those were pulled in terms of, well, some were locked. They were FSAs, I believe, is what they had. It was a 4th Street West, I think is what it had happened. Some, a player had sold one for a good fee, flipped it. There was call to have some of these properties removed because they weren't on the right street, or to be added back. And ultimately it had been decided that there were properties that weren't going to qualify. And then ultimately that led to some backlash and some drama. And then, as Ben well knows, there was, I believe yesterday, those certain properties that were 4th Street properties, no longer collection properties, went back on the market, but they gave us about 30 minutes notice, I think is.
Yeah, that really ground my gears. Which is why I'm the wine and cheese show, because I went over and had a bit of a win straight away. Yeah, it's crazy to do that. Even if they're not collection properties, it just shows no respect for your player base.
It was 20 minutes actually.
Yes.
I was at my parents having a drink, and then I was checking my Discord, and I saw the message like, "Hey, the collections are there," and I thought, "Where? How?" Yeah. I was actually, checking almost the entire day, and then I saw the message, and I was thinking, you can even have a drink with people that you. Yeah, it's weird.
The other thing that was, so there was some compensation. I believe it was, I'd say this right, 0.2 Spark.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, was that what it was? And so the differentiation between what Spark, I think a full Spark is $4.59, I think is what it in the stores is what it sells for in the Upland store. To be given something that was a little bit less of the value of what those properties would have been in collection properties. We, as mods for Upland specifically, don't see a lot of, or get a lot of, we don't get any information that would be inside information. We sometimes we'll get notified of things that are coming up in terms of just a change or a room that's going to be added in, in Discord. That's basically what we may get information on, or questions about it from response from general chatting or other rooms, other channels. So that's it. Didn't know that it was going to happen. Popped up. They sold. But we are trying as best we can as mods to understand player concerns and then voice those during UCN Upland Contributors Network meetings. So know that I do everything I can to present frustrations that you all are having and bring up feedback in that channel, a lot of those lists of what you guys want. So we try.
Yeah, and I think especially the fiasco with the naming of the ultra rare stuff and then the backpedaling. Perhaps there's some lessons there. Although these lessons that sting when they happen, it'll improve in future situations, hopefully. We'll see how we go. Alrighty. The next thing I want to, before I move on, East Coast property development came online. I know I'm not really looking to do anything specific there until we get some other building types. I really don't want to put kind of West Coast style buildings on the East Coast. I know our friend Locke has a bit of a plan for East Coast. I'm not sure whether he's looking to build out on that yet or whether he's waiting as well. Anybody want to speak to that? Anybody keen to get building in the East Coast, or you're in a holding pattern as well? Want to shrug shoulders?
I can't wait, but like you said, I really don't want to put what we have now on there. Like, the only thing that is decent is the apartment building, and that's going to take way too long. I'd like something that I could just kind of like do on the side while I'm mostly into the UDU stuff. But I guess I'll be waiting as well. I have a really awesome, huge school there. Sorry if Blendo is not for sale. It's actually one of the schools I did get accepted to. I applied for 3. Well, I applied for 4, but the other one was boring. It was LaGuardia School of Arts, Art and Design, and Fashion Industries. And I couldn't find Fashion Industries. Fashion Industries is the one I went to, but I found the School of Art and Design, and it gives me one heck of a great dividend. I don't think I'll ever be selling that one. So I really want to build on that, but I don't want to just put any old thing on it. So
yeah, and I've seen in the Upland channel too, people have been not complaining but saying, hey, we need something else here, because even though we had that extra small townhouse come on board that had an even smaller footprint, even that doesn't fit on many of the Manhattan properties. So there's going to have to be something done about that sooner rather than later, hopefully.
Ben, I wanted to point one thing out about property development and when you're building structures. At some point, beta business will include decor. Decor will be separate from actual structures, houses that are available now to build. Something that you might want to keep in mind, and that I've seen happen now a little bit more, is the placement of the structure, because we don't know what the technical specifications are for decor. If you place that structure, that home that you have to choose from now, right dead center in the middle, you may not have enough UP2 size to then put a decor in front or in back. So know that when you're placing your the homes you have choice from right now on a property, if you can and you can move it, just be conscious of that, because in the future you may want to make decor or put decor on that. You may have to, I think your only other option right now, because you can't move a house right now in Upland once you have it established and built on there, just be conscious of that, so that you may want to put something, a decor, if it's available on your property. It's going to take UP2 size. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, we've talked about that off and on, especially when we were building out in Midtown Terrace. It was interesting that kind of some differences through the world. Like in Australia, it's all about the backyard. People get their houses put as far forward as possible to maximize their backyard. So that's how I've kind of set up all of my buildings, because, you know, I'm running an outdoor decor business that's outdoor ponds and pools and that sort of thing. So I want the maximum amount of space in the backyard as possible. But some people have said, oh, really? In my country, it's all about the front yard. So they've put their house right at the very back because they want everything out the front. So that's been kind of cool. And I also thought it was funny that there seems to be a deliberate push by some people to deliberately put OCD buildings in. So they put their houses backwards on purpose. They put them on funny angles. So I don't know. Maybe they're hoping that quirkiness adds to value. I'm not sure. Well, we shall see. The next thing I wanted to talk about, kind of, it leads into what we're going to talk about later with the Scro Club, is having short and long-term goals in this game. Is that the key to success? What do you think? Anybody want to chime in?
100%. When the UDU started and it gained a lot of momentum, at first it was seen as this is just whales coming in to try to control. And ultimately, as the UDU has evolved and gone through, at least one iteration, you call them generations of change as they go through, that is a lot of wisdom that grows with the group, and people find their place and their footing. And then as ideas solidify, they become more and more successful. The Spark Train is a great example of this, where the contribution for community and being civic minded builds forward on what it is that Upland has the capabilities of becoming. So having a group like that, being able to join in builds and doing it in a smart growth, I guess I would characterize it, manner, is a very good way to go. We don't know what structures ultimately are going to provide us, other than they have said that you will be able to bring NFTs into your dwelling, be that your primary property or other properties, and utilize those as art, is otherwise what it will be. So for new cities, we're about to see, I presume, this is no inside information, I presume that they will drop a new city, and having a plan and knowing what you're going for, I really appreciate when they have the open, or the UDU does a Zoom, and then you're all there to talk about as the city opening is going on, and just collaborative, the spirit of it. I really dig it. So have a plan, find a good mentor, and yeah, make the best decisions that you can for yourself and with the group.
Cool. Did anybody want to share what their short-term or long-term goals might be?
I mean, I like to buy tier 3 stuff to flip. That's good short term for me. Like Cleveland was an awesome moneymaker for me. Oakland was. I hate Bakersfield. I hate Staten Island. But I was able to flip like I love when they do those land rushes in those areas that I hate. So like the $2,000 places, I could sell it for like $6 and kind of bring up my fiat amount to buy those fiat properties I want. I only do it for that. I never take it out. I just use it to buy the stuff without putting actual money into. I'm trying to live off my profits, but my long term definitely is the tier 1 collections. I do have some tier 2, tier 3 collections, but not many. And the nodes, the UDU nodes, is definitely a long term for me. So that's it. And Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle. Let's see. We got lots of members on board. Is anybody who hasn't been involved yet or spoken want to chime in? How about you, Renegade? Do you have any short or long-term goals you can outline, or who else? We got Joe on, Coco.
Oh,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm interested in getting involved in some of the nodes that are already existing. Talked to you and Morchise a little bit off to the side about the Santa Clara node, but home turf is kind of what's relevant and what's important to me for the most part. So I'm out of St. Louis, and I'm really I can't imagine that they're not gonna add St. Louis, Missouri to the game, you know, coming up here in the next, it's got to be soon. You know, I can't say how soon, but I have a gut feeling about it. And, you know, I'm kind of holding my cards close to the vest until then, but, you know, I'm going to buy up some turf when the hometown comes out. And, you know, I'd love to see some people out there doing that with me. We can coordinate that and, you know, build a really awesome node out there. More to come, obviously, when that becomes a thing. But when news of that breaks, you guys know who to talk to.
Nice.
We'll have a renegade node.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we haven't made a big coordinated push as the UDU for quite a while. So, and speaking to what Uplando said about, you know, getting on board for a Zoom, I know I've been quite lazy the last few releases because it's been at horrendous hours in the morning, and I just set the alarm and wake up in bed and do a few clickety clacks. So yeah, that might be fun to be a bit more coordinated. But yeah, it's the end of the month. Keep your eyes peeled. You know, history tells us we're either going to get a new city release, we'll get some block explorers, or there'll be some landmarks, or there's always a big push for cash towards the end of the month. So. Anybody else want to chime in about their goals?
Well, I'll say one more thing.
Yep.
So the only like tier 3 thing I'm probably going to go crazy on is the Bronx. I heard some rumors that the Bronx is coming out, and I'm from the Bronx, so yeah, I might go crazy there. You may not yeah, I may have to sell some organs, but it's going to get done. So
yeah, that's that kind of kicked off in a discussion last night about the FSA system, how, you know, I kind of outlined how it's so hard now. I wish they'd just scrap it entirely, because it's really hard to do anything coordinated now when there's so many FSAs. And when you're talking about a tier 3 city, yeah, that's going to take a hell of a lot of work. But yeah, we'll definitely do what we can there. Somebody mentioned an idea where, well, I mentioned that is FSA really needed now? We have supply well ahead of the demand now. So is FSA still relevant? And somebody mentioned, well, why don't they release a city that's a landing city that's only FSA? I was like, well, that's a good idea. I like that.
Isn't that what Fresno was like back in the day? They said they had like a main city and like a landing city when I first started.
Yeah.
And for me, like, because I'm a research person. I did all my research. I watched the videos, and I'm like, they're like, go to Fresno. That's the place. It's cheap. You could flip, make some money, and then go to San Francisco. Or I don't think New York was open. Yeah, New York was open, but I don't think Brooklyn was.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll go to Fresno.
I love Fresno.
Yeah, do you?
Oh, I loved it at the time.
Well, at the time, yeah.
Well, when you could flip the FSAs with no restrictions, I know we've talked about this before too. I work with Crypto Jedi and a couple of other players where I bought 200 properties in an hour. Just they were flipping at like 110% markup. That was mad fun. I loved it. Yeah, I'd like to see. Well, basically, I personally just really don't like the current 2 properties per week FSA thing. That's just, I know it basically really restricts how established players can help the newer players. Like I've currently got 3 FS agents I'm working with now, and I'm giving them 200% markup just to try and keep them interested and engaged in the game, because a week is a hell of a long time when you're just starting out. You know, if you can't flip and it's a game about property trading, yeah, it's a strange.
I think
one.
it's like an invitation to try to get around that rule.
Mm.
And like it promotes kind of trying like, oh, I'm going to create another account so I don't have to wait.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sort of thing. And if they don't know that you're not supposed to do that, then there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense when the supply wasn't up to the demand, but I think we've definitely flipped the switch there. So we shall see. Hopefully something changes. Bok, you look like you wanted to speak to goals.
Yeah, it was about the release. I strongly agree with more cheese. I think that's a good strategy. So for the long term, just keep the collection ones, keep the node ones, of course, obviously, and What I'm trying to do, and I think that's also really important with the speed that Upland has right now, and we talked about that previously, it's just to stay liquid. And especially that, I mean, especially with the latest Upland communication style, like with, I was also a bit bothered by, we will release Cleveland collections in, what was it, Monday morning. Please give me a time, especially for players who have to wake up in the middle of the night. And that's quite frustrating. I'm also curious how much time they will, they will take to announce a international city. I always have that in the back of my mind. So I definitely try to stay liquid. And previously I put all my UPEX into a new city release, and I think I will just invest 30% because I had a very hard time to sell my West Central properties in Santa Clara. It's a rare collection. I've sold them for 150% markup, which is, well, even lower, which is so low, but they were on the market for, I think, 2 weeks almost. So I don't want to invest too much into the new city, because when there are new cities or perhaps an international one, I don't want to sit there without money there. And I don't know if it was Upland with its strategy, but my strategy for the new city would be just go for the collections first. And after that, just buy small properties, because those are easy to flip. You can, get rid of them with a very good profit. I mean, if I buy 5 properties for 3K, I can sell them easily instead of one big property for, I don't know how much. I think that's also a very good piece of advice from, I think it was Upland or not, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you, but the idea that I took in going into Santa Clara was the standard collection areas. So I think North 101 that's where I had focused, and I just went in and I think I grabbed up about 25, and I immediately turned those over. I just doubled it. So if I bought it for 4K UPX, I put it up for 82, 83 and sold it. And then those people turned it right over into 16 and 18,000 UPX properties. And here's the thing, in my opinion, profit is profit. In a strategy type of approach to what you're doing, anytime you can double your money, I see the overinflated 1,000% markup on properties. And in some of the areas that's understandable. But if you really want to take the mindset of trying to build liquidity, as Bakia said, for that international city, which I personally think the first international city is going to be flipped. I mean, you should be able to flip pretty successfully there. You're gonna have to you take some transportation to get there. Right now, I think the most expensive, maybe somebody could help me with that, it's like 2K, maybe over 2K.
2.5 to get from San Francisco to Manhattan, I believe. Yep.
That's domestic. Yeah. International, depending upon where it is. If you don't have a connecting landmass, if it is truly overseas, if you're crossing a body of water versus maybe say Texas into Mexico, in California into Mexico, something of that nature, it's going to be hard for people or it's a decision that they're going to have to make. Maybe it's a 5, K UPX, 10K UPX travel just to get there. Secondary market will be hot. So yes, as a strategy base, again, for me, it's been the most success that I've had in it. And I do love the collaborative part of the Zoom meeting. So I would encourage, and I will be a part of that the next city. It's a lot of fun.
And I gotta give you,
sorry, go ahead.
I gotta give you props, Uplando. I gave you props before, right after, but you're the one that guided me to the North 101 small properties, because we were on the the call in the Upland chat, and I was really happy that there was a chat going on, because I love the collaboration between each other, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and you're like, go to North 101, go here, there's so many small properties, and thank you, because you made me a lot of money, and I flipped them, and I flipped them for, I think, 3K to 15K. So that was a nice chunk of money. So
nice.
Absolutely. Stick around after. I've got a little tip that I want to share for just UDU. So I know we're getting into the broadcast here, but I do have a little tip and trick for all of you guys if you stick around. Ben, I want you to continue on. I did have just a couple things to say about Spark Train and what I'm doing with Spark for this train and the next that are coming up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a brain fart then when you were speaking. as far as international cities. So I'll put this out there and then you can remind me when the time comes. Yeah, we know that international cities are going to take a lot of resources to get to. So it's not something that the entire team is probably going to look to traveling over there. So why don't we consider like UDU ambassadors? So you might be the Japanese ambassador or whatever. So you kind of agree to establish yourself there, and then you take orders and flip to the team at a conservative markup and that sort of thing. So I think a system like that could be cool. I know I'd definitely be looking to set up in Australia when that comes online.
I can do Italy.
Yeah, so that's something to look into. Did anybody want to speak to their goals again? We've still got a bunch of folks here.
I changed my goals mostly to do architecture I like, and then I'm working with a couple guys. We're gonna be designing the buildings as in real life, so that we can when they release custom builds, be able to put them on the properties. And I mean, I had to bring my stuff way back. I can't go at the same rate that I was going before. But mostly just looking at buildings I really like in the cities, and trying to focus on those now.
Yep, having a few priority properties to work on. I mean, I can speak to my own goals. We had there was some, I forget what it was, something on some Bitcoin news site was talking about the 1 million fiat out sales, and part of what they used was a tweet that I put out in response to Upland that I think they asked, how have you progressed or something, and I mentioned that I'd gone from 4,000 UPEX to 64 million UPEX. I was just looking at the numbers last night. In the 2 months since I made that tweet, when my net worth was 64 million, I'm now at 78 million, which equals it's about 7 million a month. So my long term, I guess it's short term really. For the end of this year, I want to be at 100 million net worth, chief executive, and I want to have 2 million per month dividends. When I first wrote that down on a piece of paper, it seemed almost unachievable, but it's good to have goals, and kind of what Uplander and Morch is speaking to as well. It comes, for me personally, it comes down to not being married to your properties. Like, I'm just flipping like a maniac, like hundreds and hundreds of San Francisco properties, dozens upon dozens of Manhattan. I've unloaded everything in Staten Island, Bakersfield, that's not a collection or that's not a property development interest. Yeah, I'm all about stacking that liquidity. So we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to the escrow club bit. But those are my goals. Short term goal at the moment is just to get the Spark train a well-oiled machine and doing what we can in regards to that.
How do you decide how much of a markup on the flips?
Well, it's interesting. For probably the last month, I've pretty much controlled the sell wall in both San Francisco and Manhattan. So I look at the current market rates, and I look at what my property values are and how much kind of room there is to move there, how much profit I'm going to make. So I just basically work off the market floor and then create my own market floor. I'm kind of, because I have so many properties and I was lucky, I don't know, because I was so early into the game, I've got a lot more flexibility that some other people might not have. Like if you're somebody who came in to Upland when San Francisco was sold out, well, that's pretty hard to compete against somebody who was buying San Francisco properties at 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 UPEX. So, but that'll all play out. And I know there's been a hell of a lot of properties that I've sold at, say, when I had the floor in San Francisco at 16,000, something like that. I probably sold 100, 150 properties at 16,000 upwards. Well, now the floor is 20,000. So, you know, there's still a lot of room there if you're picking up some of those properties. And there's only one way. We all know there's only one direction the property values are going to go up. Some people have said, well, aren't you worried about the money you've lost in the future? Well, that gets back to the don't be married to your properties and what Upland is saying. You know, liquidity is liquidity. And I know I got talking with Green Turtle last night because he was part of that. He was part of that article as well. And, you know, there's classic examples like Green Turtle sold one of his wall streets for 1.2 million. I swapped one of my wall streets for a couple of Broadway properties. You know, looking back, you kick yourself for that sort of stuff. But, you know, and as Green Turtle mentioned, that 1.2 million that he got from the Wall Street, that allowed him to buy a whole bunch of other properties. You know, it's kind of that snowball effect. So, yeah, don't be married to your properties and try not to get too caught up in the past. That's kind of my whole thing. Moving on, wine and cheese update. That's still going ahead. We did have the Nasty Hooks came through with an updated version that's a bit less hairy porn. So More Cheese and I were excited.
You're welcome.
More Cheese and I were excited about that, and we have had the lyric version come through as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting all that out to everyone.
It's hot. It's hot.
It's hot. We still got a lot of work to do, but that's still kicking along. Kind of semi-related to that is WTF with the Who is Udo series. Let's get that kicked off and going. I've been saying it every week. Yeah, let's go. I know Bob's keen to go, but we need some other steps to fall into place before we get him on the camera, so to speak. So yeah, if you're a new member who's joined us and you want to get involved, just send me a DM. It's sometimes the hardest thing is the time zones. That can be hard. But yeah, hit me up if you want to get involved. Otherwise, I'll try and start nominating people again, but we'll see how we go. Last week we talked about the spare collection club sort of thing, and I did put the start of a channel up in the server for that. That was going to be something that we worked through manually, but Steve reached out and he's looking to put a bot together for it. So I've kind of pulled right back from that and left that in Steve's hands and see what he can come up with. So that was a system where, say for example, you have 5 collection properties, but the actual collection only has 3, so you've got 2 spare. Well, maybe there's a system where within the team we can share those around a bit, make use of them in the interim. So I know he's done a bunch of work on that bot, so we'll leave that in his hands for the time being. I've also kind of got in touch with him about creating some other bots, some blockchain monitoring bots that we can use within the UDU server itself. Like we know, I know in the, well, I won't put them on blast, but there's a couple of other collaborators that have their own bots within the server, and there's also the Upland fan server, TML's Upland fan server, that has a series of bots. You know, you can check your stats or market rates and that sort of thing. So we're looking to get a set of those set up for ourselves within the server. So bear with us on that. Speaking to collection swaps, yeah, we have had new people come on board and they're very keen to get involved with collection swaps. Please be aware that, yeah, I don't know how to put it. You can't just come in and say, please, sir, lend me your ultra rares or your rare collections. You have to keep in mind that some of these collections are worth a year's salary for some people. It's not something that you can just loan out willy-nilly. Like, take my San Francisco Financial District set, for example. I used to collection swap those fairly regularly for a 50-50 split, but that was when I was kind of risking about 5 million. They were worth about 5 million. So, you know, risk and reward, that sort of thing. Now, to buy a San Francisco Financial District set it's 40 million. So unless you've got some significant collateral or there is a well-established relationship there, just be mindful of that, please. Start small, do some small collections, swaps, get involved in the team, get known. But even then, it's don't get your nose out of joint if people don't want to swap some of these more valuable properties. And I know I got my nose out of joint back in the day when I was looking to swap some of the San Francisco ultra rare collections, and nobody would swap with me. And I'm like, hey, dude, I've been playing this game for a year and I've got all this collateral, and people still like, no, I'm not interested. So at the time I thought, oh, well, that's a bit of a dick move. But now myself evolving into that situation, I kind of get where they're coming from. So things come around. Escrow Club. This is probably the major thing that I wanted to speak to today. I brought up this idea last week, and this kind of touches on all the points of, having short-term goals, long-term goals, looking ahead to new city releases, whether it's international, all that sort of thing. So I will pull up what I've got. So I haven't logged into Upland here, so that's not showing in the blue, but I have minted out this complete block in our Almond Park mini node in Morgan Park in Chicago. So there's 21 properties here. Of course, being that it's my idea, I'm going to claim this one down here. So this one's mine down in the bottom right. So there are 20 other spots available for the Escrow Club. If we find that this gets filled up straight away, I do have this other full block just up to the north as well, and there's another 20 spots in this area. I can give you an address as a reference point. It's 108545 Hoyne Avenue, Hoyne. I'll put this in the chat as well. So that's 108545 Hoyne Avenue. That'll get you in the area. I will also put up in the server, I'll put up a list of all of these properties and the mint price that they were. And basically, as people say they want to get involved, I'll associate your name with that. And then you can send an offer through. It'll be at cost, so whatever it is, mint plus fees. I think for this block here, the prices range between, I think this small one here is 16K and some of the bigger ones are 13K. And I think the other block that's up to the north a bit more, it's about the same. So what the deal is here is you'll buy a property within this little block. You're in the club. So hopefully we'll see this all filled out. And it's basically a system where anybody in this block here can offer offers to anybody else's properties in the block. So if this is me here and say I have Bocchio next to me and then there's More Cheese and Uplando next to there, well, I might have some short-term goals where I want to save 1 million for the next city release. So I might put a 1 million offer on Bocchio's property, and then I might want to start saving towards some long-term goals. So I might put a 250K offer in on More Cheese's property that's to the left. Maybe next week I've saved up another 50K. So I'm going to change my 250K offer on More Cheese's. I'm going to bump that up to 300K. So basically it's going to be it's almost like a mini bank system. So you just put offers in as long as it's within this block. So if you get a property offer, just double check who it's from, where it is. Don't just suddenly go, yippee, I've got a 1 million offer, I'm going to accept that. There will be, like we talked about before with Bocchio's list of guidelines, for a system like this, if you buy into this system, these properties are not for sale. You are essentially loaning these properties from me for the sole purpose of being involved in the Escrow Club. If you decide that you no longer want to be in the Escrow Club, you're going to sell these properties back to me at cost, so then I can put them to somebody else who wants to be involved. Okay? So within this little area, there's going to be multiple savings options. So, you might want to put 6 or 7 little nest eggs around to build up on. If mistakes occur, which, let's be honest, somebody's going to make a mistake, somebody's going to click accept, or they might accidentally list it for sale and it gets bought up. The responsible person is going to have to take on the responsibility for that and address it themselves. So that might be, so say for instance, I put a 100,000 offer on Bocchio's property and he wakes up and goes yippee and he clicks accept. Well, cool heads will prevail. I'm not going to start swearing and carrying on even too much, but anybody involved accepts that they're going to work with the other party to fix those errors. And it's going to be the responsibility of the person who's made the error to address it, including paying any and all fees and all that sort of stuff. I think that's only fair. So yeah, I will get the list of properties put up sometime within the next 12 hours. And then, yeah, it'll be a first come, first serve. And you're only buying in for one property. And like I said, if this one sells out really quick, then we've got that other one as well. Did anybody have any questions about that or want to speak to that?
That's in Morgan Park?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's non-collection area?
Yeah, it's a non-collection area, yep. And it's within our kind of mini node that we've established there too around Upland Park.
What's like the cheapest prop you got there?
I think it was 6K was the smallest one. It goes from 6 to 13. And then the other block that's to the north, I did write that down. I think the properties there are 8K to 17K. That's what you're looking at to buy in. Yeah, if you need help getting the liquidity, like if you're a UDUA member who's not really established and you don't have the 6K or the 10K to get started, reach out and try and do some collection swaps. It should be pretty straightforward to get enough liquidity to get you started. All good. We don't have our friend Dub on board today to give us a Green Rabbit update as he's busy with the what was coming today? Was it the store?
The armor craft. It's the green print armor crafting.
Or was that today? Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah, yesterday they did the fan club thing. Yeah, I'm a fan club Team Mythic.
Yeah, I'm on Team Mythic. Anybody else jump in? Anybody go for the big baller?
It's a really cool looking sticker for the big baller. I know some of them posted it. I was like, oh. And I like my sticker too.
There's a lot of people put those up for sale as well. I haven't.
No, they're non-transferable.
Okay, I wonder what I was looking at then. I thought I saw something. That's cool. Morchis, did you want to speak to, because I've got the next point I've got a Green Rabbit update, and next to that I've got Wax. Wow. Did you want to speak to the Wax?
That was pretty cool. I'm glad it's on Binance. I'm glad it's getting recognized. I wish it would have came out a day later.
Yeah, right.
The timing was horrible,
yeah.
But I'm excited about it. I know like it's a little annoying and inconvenient right now, but I think with time people will get used to it again. The whole because it went from like 20 cents per dollar to 49 cents per dollar at least.
Yeah.
So that was a nice little jump in my wallet. I had about maybe 300 wax and it went a little bit over 600. So I was like, what?
Yeah, it's almost requires a complete recalibration of your NFT brain. I know when I was looking at the market yesterday, I'm like, at the moment, I'm pretty interested in collecting the horror series. And yeah, some of those NFTs that you were buying for 1 and 2 wax or 5 wax or 10 wax, now you got to think, well, hang on a minute, that's $10 all of a sudden. So,
well,
yeah.
I just posted a link right now. The Nft Blocks Tales from the Crypto just made a drop, 200 mint. I'm in their Discord. I really like their stuff. It's a really awesome looking card. It's like a pinhead type thing.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah. Cool.
Oh no, actually 150 only available.
Yeah. And what's the price on that?
20 wax.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, the timing of the Binance release wasn't exactly great. So yeah, I was hoping to strip some wax out of my my Green Rabbit shell holdings to basically so I could start playing with house money with Green Rabbit. But yeah, I kind of shit the bed on that one, so we'll just play along. So instead of cashing out a bit, I guess I'll double down with the store or whatever comes online or with the crafting.
Yeah, I was gonna sell too, but then I'm like, I didn't know that the green prints were directly after. I mean, I probably did in the back of my mind, but then I was like, you know me. So I'm like, yeah, I might as well hold on to it and see. I did sell, like I had 19 million. I did sell at the peak, which was 0.00.
I think it was 3 O's, wasn't it? Yeah, 0009, yep.
And I was able to get that, and I put in a limit price for that. So I'm happy about that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is the NFT portal. Now I've had a couple of goes at this myself, but I use Wax Cloud Wallet and I haven't been able to find a way to do it. People have said that it is possible, but the guidelines that we get given were pretty vague, especially in game. Like if you're somebody who just opens the app and wants to do it,
it's misleading because it makes it seem like you can only do it through Anchor.
Yeah.
I think they need to fix the writing on that. I've had to walk several people through it in private DMs. So yeah, I was able to do it with my Wax Cloud wallet.
Okay, well then I'll likely be one of the people that annoy you as well at some stage. Because yeah, I had a couple of cracks at it and I couldn't work it out.
If you ever send me an IM, sure.
Yes. Has anybody else got involved with that? Have you pulled your NFTs across?
Hey, this is Hawaiian Fish.
Hey, man.
Hey guys. Yeah, I was able actually, I've been using Atomic Hub. So I have my IO wallet, my Wax wallet, but I'm also buying everything. I've linked that with the Atomic Hub, and I actually now I don't even bother going to my wallet to transfer them to UDU, or not to UDU, to Uplands.
Yeah.
I actually can do it through Atomic. Through Atomic. I don't know if you're using Atomic Hub, but
yeah. That's the cloud wallet, the Atomic Hub.
Okay, so it's on top of the wallet, correct? It's a DApp on top of the wallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because like in the explanation you get as soon as you go onto the Upland site, it says in order to do this, you have to connect your Wax wallet to your Anchor, which is not the case.
Yeah, and some people have kind of freaked out a bit that when you transfer your NFTs across to your Upland account, that you're essentially not losing ownership, but you're kind of escrowing your ownership. And it's kind of like the Planet stuff where, yeah, they're still yours, but they're not within easy access. There's still a process to go through. Like I know I'm trying to pull my staked NFTs out of Planet now. I think I've got 100 or something to go, and I can only do about 3 per day before the CPU craps out, which is quite annoying. But yeah, anything that you might want to sell or move around in the future, yeah, perhaps hold off on transferring that over just yet. Baby steps. Couple of last things. I am going to go ahead and upgrade the podcast channel that we started. So our team meetings and stuff, and kind of looking ahead to the Wine and More Cheese, that should become available on Apple and Spotify and all the rest of it. So keep an eye out for that and support that if you can. And last thing, which we've kind of already touched on, was, yeah, be prepared. Next city release is imminent. If you haven't already done so, scramble to gather some liquidity, get ready, and away we go. I know Lazy has kind of hinted at wanting to get involved in a new node. We know Renegade's keen to get going with a new node as well. So yeah, let's see what we can do. Other than that, anybody has anything else to add? More cheese?
I'm looking at the Green Planet website, and I see it's been updated, and I see the green print crafting is up.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
All
it looks
right.
really good. They did a great job.
Sounds good. Let's get this wrapped up so we can go and have a play.
Yes.
Alrighty, thanks
I mean,
everybody.
I have a question, but like
Yep.
it's not like it's about like nodes. So I have 2 properties in a like Santa Clara node, and you need 3. So how would I get like a third one? It's sold out. Or should I just like what should I do with those?
Is
Are you
this the,
talk-
the
yeah.
cheese node?
Yeah.
Just come to me. We'll work something out.
Yeah. With any of those situations, always contact the node manager. If you're not sure who the node manager is, just reach out and chat, and somebody will point you in the right direction.
Who is Ken?
There's me, Awesomeness from
Oh,
chat.
awesomeness. All right, cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see you
Oh,
on here.
awesomeness! There you
Welcome.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I was
I'll be
gonna
looking
do
for
the
you.
auction, but like
Yeah.
I only got nobody answered the properties, so
Yeah, that was one thing that we were going to talk about, but I wasn't aware that you jumped on. So thank you for chiming in at the end
oh
there. Yeah. Yeah, auctions. We did speak about this a little bit before we press record. It may be difficult to set something up like that because we have such a small base here. Like, I don't know how many people we got online at the moment. We've got 8, 12, about 15 people, something like that. So, and of course, many of the people on board here are super engaged in the game and kind of more business minded, shall we say. So especially, I guess I can speak from my own experience. I mint and I sell to the secondary market. I very rarely buy from the secondary market. So I'm not sure that this is a platform where auctions are necessarily going to work well because, yeah, there's not a lot of people here and I just don't know that the interest is going to be there. So especially considering the time and effort you've already put into it. So we'll see how we go.
So
Sorry,
sorry,
go.
go ahead. Go ahead, Megan.
oh no, I was just saying like okay.
Uplander?
Yeah, real
Right.
quick. So congratulations, Bacchio. It looks like that 35 Annapolis Terrace in San Francisco looks completely built. You might check in on that, but it does look like it's completed. So on to the next. If you have your Spark staked there, move it down on the list so that we can get those built. And then word to the wise on the NFT portal. You can bring them in. There's no way out right now. So
Yeah.
there will be, but just know if you're committing something and you need liquidity or something of that nature, there's an AMA for the portal tomorrow. You're going to learn all about it. Another thing, if you're bringing packs in to Upland, if you're bringing the Upland card packs in, you cannot open them in Upland. So know that, and then there's no way to get it out right now. If you want to bring individual cards in, open your packs on Wax, then bring them in. And that's really about it.
Awesome. We'll wrap it up on that one. Thanks, everybody.